Hi and welcome to Our Model Railway, a series of videos that will chronicle my journey into the world of model railwaying. Over the coming weeks, months and years, these videos will record my trials, my failures, my learning, and with a little help and a lot of luck, one or two successes along the way. I hope you'll join me and enjoy watching these videos as much as I enjoy making them. So there's nothing else to do, but let's get started. Here we are at this very first video in the Our Model Railway series. I must admit it's taken me quite a while to get here, and I'm a little bit nervous as well as very excited to finally get on the way. So what am I going to look at in this first video? Well, what I'd like to do is to talk very briefly about my ideas behind the model railway and the limitations that I've got in terms of producing it, as well as look at my background in model railwaying, or rather the lack of it, and how I've got to this stage where I want to start trying to build a model railway. Before I do that, however, someone on one of the forums I've been looking at said you need three things to build a model railway. They are time, money and space. Well, in terms of time, I suspect some of you who may have been watching the channel and watching some of the other videos on that know that I have a number of other hobbies, not least of which is the birds, which take an awful lot of my time, so I'm going to have to limit how much time I can spend doing the model railway, competing that with obviously work and family commitments. In terms of money, well, as always, I suspect like everybody else, money is very short, so we'll have to see what we can do in terms of what we can afford to do and make use of whatever it is that I've got available to me. In terms of space, well, when I first set out to build a model railway, I had some idea about where I was going to put it. Unfortunately, circumstances have changed, which means I can no longer do that. So space is going to be fairly limited, and that sort of was one of the reasons why I took some time getting started. Was I had this idea of what I wanted to build, and when the circumstances changed, I could no longer build that. So I was sort of umming and ahhing as to whether I should start at all. And then finally, reading a few magazines, looking on the forums, people said just get started and make do with whatever it is you've got. So while space is going to be limited, my general idea about what the model railway will look like in the end is still there, but it'll have to be built in stages until I have the space available to build the whole thing together. So that's where we are. What I'd like to do now is talk very briefly about the basic idea behind my model railway. Well, here we are. And as I said, I want to talk a little bit briefly about my ideas behind the model railway. I said earlier that the circumstances had changed and I could no longer build the larger railway that I was after, so I've decided to build just a small element of it. As it was, I was going to start on one particular part of the larger model railway, which was going to be a small branch line halt. And I think that's where I'm going to start. So it will be a small halt with a goods yard, some sort of goods facilities, and maybe a small shed at the back. It will allow me to do some running with it in terms of interest, in terms of shunting and moving some stuff around. The intention is that the line would then run through with just a goods service running through, but with a passenger service sort of terminating there and then moving back to a slightly larger station. So that's what I intend to do, that's where I intend to start. In terms of the actual detail in terms of location and the era in which I'm going to base it, I'll talk more a bit about that in the next video. But for the time being, that's my general idea. It will be an OO scale model that I intend to build. My thought process at the moment is that it's going to be, I'll start off with something on a board that will be about 4 foot by 2'6" or maybe 3 foot in depth. Something around that sort of size will be what I will be looking at. Well, that's where we are in terms of what my starting point and what I'm planning to model at the moment. So, but how did I get to this stage in wanting to start model railway? I suppose, like most people, I had an interest in trains when I was a young lad. It started with a friend of mine called David Hicks, who I used to hang about with when I was sort of 10, 11, that sort of age. We used to play cricket together, actually, have just a one-on-one cricket match. And he had some family who worked at Oxford Station, and one day he mentioned this hobby of train spotting, and we decided collectively to go and have a look and see what it was like. Became quite interested in the spotting side of things, joined a number of clubs, and as you can imagine, here we go, look, I found one of my very first combinations, or combines, that I had. It was, you can probably tell from the pictures here that it was the early days of diesel. There weren't any steam engines in here. I can't even remember what year this one came out, but it was my very first one, and it was still using the old numbering system, so there were none of the new computerised numbering systems at that stage. I'll just show it again, so if any of you know what era that particular combine came out for, please leave a comment. So, and then I suppose, again, like most young train spotters, young enthusiasts, the idea then turned to have a model railway, and with my pocket money at the time I began to buy some stuff and got some stuff for Christmas, and had a very, I suppose, brief attempt at building a model railway in a small area in my parents' house. It was very rudimentary layout. It was just a number of brackets on a wall with some hardboard on the top of it and some basic sort of grass felt stuff that was then running around. I don't think I even had a station at that stage. It was just a straightforward round the room type layout. And then I suppose I got a bit older, left school, ended up joining the army, and I lost my interest in railways altogether, I suppose, at that stage. Yeah, so that's where the model railway interest came. I recently found out some other stuff as well, my early attempts. So there was a very early track plan, 17p, so you can tell how old that was. The 8th annual Oxford and District Rod and Railway Show, 1973. So once again, you can see how old that was, and some stuff on the back there. Some models, I suppose, that you could have bought at the time. A GWR station building kit in 4mm scale was 92.5p, so almost £1 for that, so we can see there. Also a couple of magazines that I bought at the time as well, around model railway construction. So that's where we were. Way back there is my long time ago. It was interesting looking back through these, bringing back a few memories. But as always, I suppose you end up growing out of these things. I left school and went away and joined the army, and forgot really much about the model railway and about railways altogether. So where did we get to from then? Well, let's fast forward a few years. Left the army and began working in Reading, although I lived in Oxford at the time, and began commuting between Reading and Oxford by car. After a short while it became obvious that that wasn't the best use of my time travelling by car, or the most cost-effective way of travelling. So I started to commute by train. This was mainly to give myself a chance to do some work on the train, answer emails and that sort of thing. But as you can imagine, commuting on the train between Oxford and Reading every day, I began to see people who were still train enthusiasts who stood both on Oxford and Reading Station. I passed Didcot every day and saw the Didcot Great Western Society engine shed there, so again that brought a spark my interest. And at the same time, my young boy Jack, who you may have seen in some of the other videos, like most young lads, wanted to have a train set of some time, a sort of Thomasy type push along thing. And I suppose the interest that was there as a boy began to come back, and I sort of began to look at the engines and see what had changed, and began to collect a few numbers. Indeed, I even went out and bought myself another combine, so in order to collect the numbers, and that was the first one I bought, 2014, so some considerable, or still even there, still 3 years ago when this happened. And along with that, I began to gather my interest in trains overall. So where did we go from there? Well, that was really my interest in trains at that stage. It was just as I moved between, or commuted between Oxford and Reading, and then one day I had to take a trip into Bicester for a meeting. And whilst I was walking through W.H. Smith's, I saw a magazine, and it had on it about some locos that travelled on the Cotswolds line that was included in that Bicester was included in. And I picked it up. I think it was this magazine. It was Rail Express magazine. I picked it up to have a quick look at what I might see up there, mainly, and started to read through the magazine. And then, lo and behold, at the centre of this magazine, there was a section around model railways in the middle of it. And as you might imagine, I started to read through that, discovered how much model railways had changed since I was a young lad, and how the hobby had progressed. Looked at the idea around DCC rather than DC, and it sort of re-sparked my interest in model railways. At this same time I was sorting out my father's garage, and as I was going through the garage I came across some of my old model railway stuff. Most of it had got broken or damaged, but what I'd like to do now is to show you some of that stuff from that period. Well, here we are with a number of carriages. First off, I think they were in their Mark I carriages, but I'm sure one of you out there will be able to tell me. I got this with a set that was being pulled by a Class 43, and it's, as you can see, it's sold into City Livery. It was 4 carriages in total, Horby models. I'm not sure if I'll be able to make use of those in the new series, but they'll certainly help in terms of maybe practicing some of the weathering techniques, although they look fairly weathered at the moment, I don't know if you can see that, but they certainly do look fairly weathered at the moment. So that was some of the carriages that I found out. I also had a number of goods wagons that not sure whether I'll use any of these either, but as you can see there were a number of goods wagons that were still left intact. Some of them have got a little bit damaged. This one here has lost most of its doors. Some sort of grain hopper there. I think it's a Johnny Walker grain hopper. SR plank wagons. I'm assuming Southern Region plank wagon. The Wifey's Banana larger wagon. And along with some stuff that I clearly had been given at some stage that I didn't go out and buy myself. So there's a very old sort of, tell how old it is because it's a metal cast oil wagon there, a shell oil wagon. So that was some of the good stuff that I've got. Along with that, a fair old bit of track, although most of the track, or a lot of the track, had been damaged, but there is still some of the track that's I think is usable. So fair old back here, I'll just put it all across. As you can see, there's a fair whack of it here, including a number of points. I think I had 3 points in total that I'd found out. And interestingly enough, the points have still got attached to them the electronic removal or moving bit to enable me to change the points electronically. So you can imagine, you can see that I did have, for the time, some fairly modern day stuff. And indeed, here's the, I think it must have been a Horby system again, a Horby sort of pull system that you use to move the points. In terms of locos, like I said, I think I said earlier, most of the locos had been damaged in storage. There was, however, one loco or a couple of locos that hadn't been too badly damaged. One of those was a very old locomotive that I think had belonged to my father, that we sort of just kept in the family. And this is the loco here. I will show you a close-up clip of this particular loco in a few seconds. It's obviously when the track had 3 lines to it, so there was a central line for pickup. I wouldn't have a clue what it was or whether it still worked. I don't think we ever ran it, or I ever ran it when I was a young lad, so you can see how old it is. Be interested to know whether anybody knows what it was. On the base of it, it's got, I think it says TTR made in England, and then there's an M5 symbol on the, here. So clearly a fairly old style engine, very heavy, almost all metal, and the engine, you can see that the actual motor inside it was very, very large at the time. So I will show you a close-up of that engine in just a few seconds. The other engine that I came across was a favourite of mine, always was. I remember being stood on Oxford Station as a young lad, and these would be working the small goods siding, the small parcel siding. Always amazed at the character that the engine seemed to have and the noise that they made, and that was an old 08 shunter. Again, this was a Horby model, fairly simple model, no windows in it, and having looked up the number on it is D3035. Looked up the number, and I can't find D3035 anywhere, so I'm assuming it was just a mock-up version, not a particularly good model, I'm guessing, by modern day standards. But it was always a favourite of mine. I loved running this engine around the track. I loved working with it, and I suppose shunting was one of those things that I enjoyed as a young lad, rather than just letting the trains go round and round. Again, I'll give you a close-up of this engine probably at the end of the video. Clearly it's fairly old, so it was a DC engine. I don't know whether it still works. My intention is to open it up, to give it a good service, and then to see if I can get it running. Unfortunately, or it may be fortunately, or may not be fortunately, I still have some old DCC controllers from my old setup that I also found. I have not plugged these in, so I do not know whether they're going to go bang when I do. My intention is to give them a good clean up, and then to give them a test. And if it does go bang, then clearly I'll have to find another way of testing that particular one. But I have two of these. So this version here, which was a Horby controller, and it did have a number on it. Let me just see if I can find the number. It was a 905 power controller, and then at some stage I got enough money to buy a slightly improved version. I think I don't know what the main difference was. I think it had it could run more ancillaries on it, and also had a little light here, and that's probably the only main difference. There were two settings for this, so there was a forward and reverse setting, forward and reverse there, and on this side there was two different power settings, which was slow and fast, and obviously it was set on slow when you wanted to do the slow work. I think it made the power to the engine a bit more better in terms of, or the power to the motor in the engine a bit better in terms of slow running. So like I say, I'm going to set that up, and once I've serviced this and checked that, and if I can get any spare brushes for it, get some spare brushes, see what I can do in terms of that, and then see if I can get that running. Whether I will do anything else with this, I don't know. What I'd like to do is to practice some of give it a respray, and then practice some of my techniques around the weathering and that sort of thing on it. Maybe if it's possible, I'm not sure whether it would be, maybe even convert it to DCC so that it will run on the new layout at some stage. It'd be nice to have it if I could get it running, as it's the only loco from my youth that I've still got that is likely to still be able to run. Well, that's about all I've got time for this video. I'll leave you with a shot of the two locomotives at the end. In the next video we're going to start building the baseboards, so maybe if I've got this running we'll have a look at it running. The other thing I will do is show you what I've got in terms of modern models. In terms of my DCC modern models, not very much I must admit. It was just a quick starter set that I bought in order to get myself going and have a look at. So, but it will do as a starter set, and we'll have a look at that in the next episode. Well, thank you for watching. If you did enjoy it, please comment, particularly in terms of the engines and in terms of the stock that I've got, and anything else. Like I said right at the very beginning, it will take me some time and a lot of help from various forums and other websites, and a little bit of luck, and maybe additional some help from comments from yourselves. So, like I say, if you did enjoy the video, please do like, subscribe, and I look forward to reading the comments. Thank you.